if you think that ESPN Scorebug for Monday Night Football is really, really bad and is the worst of the networks, I promise you, you haven't seen anything yet. It could get a heck of a lot worse. Welcome, everybody, to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared Gare, and I representing the 904 from the 602. And today, we are talking about a change that ESPN is making to their broadcasts for Major League Baseball that could massively impact how they present the National Football League in the 2024 season. Because over the weekend, ESPN announced that they were making a change to their scoreboard for baseball, and it definitely riled up a few fans, because now, among all the other stats you have on a baseball scoreboard, like the score, obviously, the pitch count, the batter up, the runners on base and whatnot, they are adding win probability. That's right, ESPN is adding win probability to their scoreboard on a permanent basis for their baseball broadcasts, mainly for Sunday Night Baseball for the 2024 season. You can see what it looks like on the screen in the sample between the Yankees and the Astros, and you see at the top it says win probability, and it shows that the Yankees have a 68% chance at winning as of this very moment. Now, when talking about the move, Phil Orleans of ESPN, he spoke about what this change means and why it's a good move for ESPN. He said, one of our things that we'll be doing this year for the first time, we will add win probability to our mini board. And it's not going to be there just at random times throughout the broadcast. It will be up there 100% of the time, or 98% of the time, during the telecast. I'm guessing by 98%, it means like in the top of the ninth inning, if the score's 15-0, they're not going to have it up. But every other scenario, they're going to have win probability on their bug. Now, Phil Orleans actually said that fans are not going to be very receptive to this. Not going to be very receptive to this at the beginning. He said, it will not probably at the outset be mostly positive reaction. Always a good sign when you're making a change and you immediately say off the bat, yeah, the fans are probably not going to like this. But he did add, I think over time it will connect with the psyche and intentions of the viewers. People think about their team's chances of winning all the time. That doesn't necessarily mean they won't have emotional thoughts when they see their team only has a 4% chance to win or something like that by mathematical equations. So I do expect some of that reaction. So, why would you add something to a scoreboard if you know there's going to be negative reception? Because I've seen on social media a lot of negative reception, a lot of negative response to this, and understandably so. Well, think about it. What is win probability most associated with? Betting. What does ESPN now have that they didn't have last season for the NFL? Betting. They added a sports book partnering with Penn to create ESPNBET. They added that book in mid-November, and this is the first full NFL season they'll have with it in 2024. And it started in just 17 states, so having it for just a select few states might not be the best idea. But now you add North Carolina, you add New York, you might add another few states into the mix. All of a sudden, it makes a lot more sense why you would add win probability to your scoreboard. Because the goal with this change is simple. Obviously, we know this doesn't enhance the viewing experience whatsoever. We all know games aren't played on paper. That's the beauty of sports. Anything can happen. If anything, this makes it worse. Casual fans might be more willing to turn off a game once a win probability gets to a certain point. You might think, okay, this team has a chance at winning. Then you see it's at 96%, and you're like, never mind, I'm not going to watch the rest of the game. And obviously, you know a game is good when it's good. You don't need win probability to tell you that, so it doesn't enhance it in that way. If the game is tied with 5 minutes left, you know it can go either way. Everyone knows that. So the network is flat out telling you when a game is good and when a game is bad. You obviously know when a game is good, and when a game is bad, the network is telling you, lose hope. You're not going to win this game. You're not going to get anything good. The network is flat out telling you when it would take a miracle to win, which I just think is hysterical. It's such a stark difference from before the Fox box back in the mid-90s when Fox got the rights to the NFL. And even NBC back in the 90s, remember Super Bowl 32? Didn't have the scoreboard on the screen for the entire time. These networks used to be scared to show the score because they didn't want you turning the game off. They wanted you to stay on as long as possible, and they withheld the score from you so that you had to watch longer to know what the score was and if it was a good game or not. And now they're just flat out telling you when you can turn the game off. And plus, this win probability stat takes up real estate that fans might not want. fans universally seem to like simplicity in scoreboards. Obviously, win probability is the furthest thing from that. So why are they doing this? Especially if they know the reception is going to be negative. They want to increase their revenue and increase the amount of people betting on these games. Step one, you show the win probability on the screen. You lull people into believing that the game will go one way or the other. Now, this is the potential to set you up for tons of legal trouble if the win probability graphic is wildly incorrect and misrepresented compared to other models because of reliance on that information. What I mean by that is if ESPN says, oh, this team has a 92% chance at winning at this very moment, and every other win probability model says, not so fast, my friend, it's only like 51%. I don't know where you're getting that information. Maybe you might be setting yourself up for a lawsuit. I don't know. It could be very, very dicey. But the idea is that you show the probability on the screen. You're like, oh, this team can win the game. This team is likely going to win the game. Let me place a bet on that. So you go over to ESPNBET, and ESPNBET will probably be the only book that's broadcasting advertisements and showing advertisements during the game. You'll get promo codes during the broadcast. You'll get commercials in between. You'll get all that fun stuff, especially if you're watching on ESPN Plus and whatnot. You offer odds that might be worse than books like FanDuel and DraftKings because you can, since you're the only book being advertised during the game and you're flat out showing throughout the broadcast, hey, here's the probability, go to ESPNBet to place your bet and use this code or do something along those lines, and you get the idea at that point. So this is why win probability is there. It is purely for a betting perspective because it is not there to enhance the viewing experience. I'm not sure how this enhances the viewing experience outside of people that really like betting. So, it is happening with Sunday Night Baseball this year. Will it happen in the NFL? Because you have to think, they're doing this as a test run for 2024 win probability on the screen the entire time for baseball. And if it increases the bets, if they like what they see, oh, you better believe that they're going to do it for football. A Sunday Night Baseball game might get 1 million viewers. A Monday Night Football game gets about 15 times more than that. So you can imagine 15 times more bets, maybe even more than that, because football is a once-a-week sport. Baseball, there's a lot more variation in terms of the game by game. Having said that, what could this look like for ESPN? Well, I have this sample that I think is a pretty good indication of what I think the bug will look like based on all of this information. So you see, this is what the bug looked like this past season. I'm using this game between the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. This was the Week 1 Monday Night Football game. This was the game where Aaron Rodgers went down. Xavier Gibson had the punt return overtime touchdown. Crazy, crazy ending to that game. You can see on this scoreboard, there's room at the bottom. For whatever reason, when ESPN has this scorebug, which, by the way, is a terrible, terrible scorebug. I think it's by far the worst of the major networks that broadcast the NFL, but that's neither here nor there. When they have this bug, it is not taking up the bottom of the screen. There is a sliver at the bottom that is unoccupied. So this is what I think I could see the bug looking like in 2024. Again, this is just a very, very basic mock-up, but if the Sunday Night Baseball broadcasts go well and ESPN gets the numbers if they want from a betting perspective, I could see something like this for their football broadcasts in 2024. Because you got to know, they're not stopping at baseball. There's no way they're just stopping at baseball. If they can sense blood in the water, if they can smell money, oh, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. And at least with something like this, it's extremely non-intrusive since it's taking up bottom of the screen that no one really looks at anyway. It's pretty small, all things considered. I could see them doing something like this in 2024. Again, this is just speculation on my end. It's an educated guess based on the news that broke of what ESPN is doing for Sunday Night Baseball, but I would not be surprised whatsoever, especially since this is the first full season that ESPN has a sportsbook, if this makes its way over to the NFL. If you're saying, wait a second, the NFL would not be in on this whatsoever, what are you talking about? Well, we've seen plenty of betting segments on pregame shows. We see Matthew Berry on Sunday Night Football with DraftKings making parlays. We see on CBS, FanDuel with Phil Simms and Boomer Esiason making their picks. We see Fox with their own betting app, although that's a free app, so I'm not sure that really applies with the Super 6, Win Terry's Money. That's completely free to do, so I'm not sure that's the same thing. But we've seen CBS and NBC do it. I can absolutely see a scenario where ESPN does this and the NFL gives them the green light because, hey, more eyeballs on the league, more money that way. But what are your thoughts? Do you like this change for Sunday Night Baseball? Do you think the scorebug for Monday Night Football in 2024 will get win probability added to it, much like Sunday Night Baseball is this season? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And that's going to do it for this episode of JG9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe, helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check my main channel, Jaguar9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is Jaguar9 signing off, and as always, go Jags.